So many people just have the question, and I wanted to answer it. How do you know the difference between the real sun and the fake sun? First of all, in some Russian documents let out by the military unit, they talk about how the sun literally went through a phase of an explosion long before any of us was alive. So what happened to the real sun? Okay, so the first thing you know, like let's say you're getting ready to look up and you're like, holy smokes. You need to know that there's two types of artificial suns. Hi chickadee chicken, I just said it. So it's one that's circular and there's one that looks like an octagon. Let's get you into the breakdown of what that looks like. First, to understand how to detect the fake suns, you must see the picture of what actually happened over Crazy Horse Monument in South Dakota. This was a first significant event that took place in 2018 that gave us perspective on what the artificial projection of the sun simulator looks like. It was a base, a place that works with NASA about 51 minutes away from this monument that literally was developing technology with NASA, and they tell you that there's no bases there, but this changes everything. Mr. MBB33 channel was the first one to pull out a picture over the monument. Look at the screen right now as it zooms in. You see the octagon figure. But I want you to keep in mind, this is only one shape of an artificial simulator they have. In 2022, this was sent to us and it looked exactly the same as this one shape one. Notice that circle in the middle you've seen, it exists within this one as well. So you have to remember that circle in the middle determines is a fake sun. This is important because from now all the way to 2031, we're going to see a magnificent amount of sun simulators. And they admit there are two different types of simulators. A pulse solar simulator may be a single pulse or a multi-pulse solar simulator. Steady solar simulators have 1,000 hours of continuous operation, while pulse solar ones have 40,000 hours. And remember, they have different shapes and sizes. So just because you see an octagonal one doesn't mean you don't see a circular one. So don't be the one that's like, oh yeah, well only that one is the fake one because it looks like an octagon. Not true. This one is the China model, and once they turn it on with all these lights around it, if you're looking at it right now, look at how many lights on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they got 6 a lower level, and there's some at the top as well. But once they turn it on, you will not know the difference until I tell you what I'm going to tell you next. But check this one out. This is NASA's one as well. And look at that circular object in the middle. Remember that chamber. Remember that circle. Because this will lead you into how to identify what I'm about to tell you next. So just keep in mind, you're either seeing solar simulator number 1 or solar simulator number 2. And the other thing is that it all looks white. It's not yellow anymore. Now here's a huge detail that will help you break down even further how to know the circular one is the artificial sun. So when you look up in the sky and you see this, since it's pulsing, you know now that that's a simulator that has a certain amount of pulses. And besides that, there's another way you can tell. If you look at it, and even if it's circular, now look at this one. It's pulsing again, but what else does it have in the middle? That circular chamber-like object. So the other big question you might have is, how do you know when the fake sun, the artificial sun, shows up in the middle of the night? This was seen in Colombia in 2018. Back then, nobody knew what it was. But based on some observations, it points to one key thing we'll show you in a few. So hot guacamole and roly-polies. Did you just see what happened? Well, I'm about to break it down to you exactly what was happening with this thing in the sky so we can understand deeper here, so you know when you see these things appear. Oh, guess what else I got for you? Something else big. so that you can see that it's not just suns, but we are going to tell you that right after this. Okay, so if you're looking at this right now, what is the first thing you notice? It's pulsing, flashing in and out. What else would be doing this besides a solar simulator, a fake sun? So when you're checking it out the night sky and you see weird things like this start happening, your first observation is to look at a pulse, and then the next observation is to take a zoom in and look at the object size of it. And it was definitely circular when they zoomed in a few ago. This was one of the more strange events that they were testing out in beta form. Now they've moved on to operational phases in our reality. Here is the bonus section from JRE's show. People have zoomed in with telescopes. He was in a plane, and they're noticing now that stars aren't just acting like stars. They're starting to split off and they're starting to move, and people are saying they're even moving like they're intelligent enough to know that you're zooming in on it. So how is that a normal star? So take a look at it. After minutes or just seconds of him looking at it, it starts to shapeshift. So when you're looking up in the sky and you're noticing these stars are shape-shifting and moving weird like this is not normal. Stars don't move like this. They don't just start taking different shapes. So guess what else is happening? The article that is about to pop up on the right side of the screen talks about what Silicon Valley is betting on in the future. Man-made stars, and this thing also goes down to a small form. So nuclear fusion, while Silicon Valley is betting on man-made star power and is producing cheap, almost limitless electricity, that's why they want to do it. And when you see this in the sky, you know that that's not a normal star. And I used to know this guy who worked at a NASA base, as a matter of fact, and he was telling me how even though he worked there, sometimes the guys with the all black suits would show up and they would have some high advanced technologies that literally they would get in some type of helicopters and it would be faster than any helicopter you ever known, something like off of Avatar. So with these technologies that they have, they are betting on deceiving the eye. They're way more higher advanced past what we know. And this is the identification technique that is going to let us know exactly what's coming to our future. And that's why we're going to have more breakdowns here on JWTV. So here's a huge question I have for you. Why is the sun not yellow anymore? And two, are you now more aware of what the sun actually looks like? And this should get out to lots of other people. And don't forget, we break down so much about what's happening in our world. You don't want to miss it. Tell me what is next that I should be making that we can all understand and identify.